with a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
And welcome back to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight Podcast. Yep, we're still here. We're still here, but it's very, very quiet indeed. Andy's here today with us, and we're going to discuss. We're just going to give you like a roundup of the OTAs and minicamp that's happened. Obviously, this has been without pads, and so a lot of the focus will be on the passing game, the running game, because it's no contact. It's hard to install a running game without any tackling and see how things look. Andy, it's a very quiet time of the year now, isn't it? We're going into the real off season. The players are all away. They're all on holiday. Some of them are probably meeting up, doing some training together, but this is the quiet period now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, unless your teammates have been getting up to incredibly daft things during the off season, I think it's been quiet for a while. We've been keeping ourselves busy talking about various contract signings and stuff, but yeah, this is it now, this dead period before we hit training camp.
Should we start right at the beginning of this? Just in case, because there's probably people listening to this that haven't been paying attention to the OTAs and minicamp, and maybe they've missed a bit of like the free agency. So we're just going to give this like a little bit of a recap. So there's no better place to start right at the right at the top. Head coach Aaron Glenn, as we all know, he took over as the primary defensive play caller this year, even though the de facto play caller is Brian Duker. The Jets also made a major splash this year by bringing in Frank Reich, who is going to sink or swim in this offense. By the looks of it, I think it's going to work. He's the new offensive coordinator, and he's implementing quite an aggressive style, and it's an instinct-driven scheme. Do you like this hire, Frank Reich?
I do. I've gone back and forwards with it quite a bit just because it felt like the Jets made the change quite late on. And so we were left with kind of slim pickings in terms of who'd be available. Felt like probably a very attractive job without having really that long-term answer at QB or a chance of getting one in the draft. But I think Reich at least gives you an opportunity because he's proven he can do it in the past. And I think him with someone like Gino, who is very much just a tell me what to do and I'll do it kind of a QB, more of a system quarterback than anything special. I think it's got a chance to work. And I think it's sort of, I flip it round a bit with how you phrased it, I think, where I think the offense sinks or swims with Frank Reich, because if Frank Reich is good, I think this offense will be good. I think if Frank Reich isn't good, I don't think this offense has got much of a chance.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I flip-flopped right from the beginning with this as well. As you do in your head, you're thinking, well, the pros and the cons and the cons and the pros. And then we hired a young guy who, during the OTAs and minicamp, he's actually received some plaudits. I'm going to mention this as well. Rex Ryan. So the person I'm talking about is Seth Ryan. If you don't know who Seth Ryan is Rex Ryan's son. Rex Ryan was also the son of Buddy Ryan, who was on the Jets when they won the Super Bowl. So there's been this bloodline in the Jets for decades, and now we've got Seth Ryan. So he was a play caller with the Lions, up and coming. Apparently Ben Johnson used some of Seth Ryan's skill sets, and I think it's fair to say that Ben Johnson was suitably impressed by what Seth Ryan was doing. I like the fact that we've got Frank Reich, who has got the old head on old shoulders, and we've got the new guy, the up and coming guy, and there's kind of talk going on that quite possibly when Frank Reich hangs it up finally, that it could be that Seth Ryan actually steps into his shoes and becomes the offensive coordinator. Would that be something that you would welcome? Can you see that actually happening?
I don't know if I can see it happening. I don't know that much about Seth, other than what I've read. Don't know much about Seth Ryan. It would be nice for the Jets to have that kind of succession plan in mind to be perfectly honest though, because it's not something we've seen in the past. Usually it's some young guy we're kind of throwing into the fire who doesn't have a lot of experience, and then someone behind him with a bit of seniority. But if that's what the Jets' plan is, I like it in theory. I think it's a good idea to have a plan like that in place. Although I really feel like we were having this discussion last year, you know, with what's his face, Chris Harris.
Yeah.
And oh god, I've even forgot the name of our DC from last year now. That's how forgettable it is that he's gone. But yeah,
Blimey, yeah, me and all as well. So you're in good company.
Arizona Cardinals head coach, things didn't go well. I think we were having that discussion last year about Chris Harris as the potential future DC. Although on that note, Steve Wilkes, that's the guy. But it's nice to see that Chris Harris is still stuck around. So that could still be the plan longer term. But yeah, I like the idea of having a senior guy in for maybe a year or two, and then having kind of your anointed kind of young up and coming guy as one of the position coaches.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, and this is something that we don't do. And when you look at the more successful teams, that word you use, succession, we never have a plan in place. And if we do have a plan in place, it never comes to fruition because, lo and behold, the GM and the head coach are out the door and we're starting all over again. So whatever your likes or dislikes are about Aaron Glenn, really, especially if you don't like him, you should be pulling for him to succeed this year so we can get some stability. How we get that stability and how that actually transpires throughout the season remains to be seen. We've talked about this before. I don't think whether Aaron Glenn stays or doesn't stay should be purely based on wins. I think it's how we actually perform in games, because you can play incredibly well in a game and lose it. You can play incredibly well in a game and get robbed by the officials. We've seen that happen before. So I would be gutted if we lost a couple of games by bad officiating or just by pure bad luck, just maybe an individual error from somebody, Gino throwing a pick six in the dying seconds of a game or something. I don't think Aaron Glenn's career should be hanging on that. So really you want Aaron Glenn to succeed, but that word that you use, succession, I think that's absolutely crucial for us this year and moving forward. Talking of which, veteran leadership infusion. We've brought in some absolutely brilliant players. We've just talked a little bit about Geno Smith. I personally love Demario Davis. When his third time in the team, he's drinking from the fountain of youth or something, because the guy's out there who's running around in OTAs and he just doesn't look any different since the last time he was with the Jets. I'm sure he has slowed down a little bit, and I would think that there will be a little bit of regression this year. That said, last year he looked fine, but as we know, we saw it with CJ Mosley. All of a sudden, he just dropped off. The other acquisition that I really like on the defense is Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think he's going to anchor that secondary, and he's going to be communicating well with Demario Davis. How do you like those two that the Jets picked up?
Yeah, it's nice to see, because we saw it and heard it with the addition of Harrison Phillips last year. I think regardless of how everything else went with the team last year, Phillips really stood out as someone who was always very measured, very sensible, and seems to be the kind of guy that Glenn probably wants around to kind of deal with some more of kind of the other style of personality he seems to like to have on his defense as well. Just the more kind of aggressive mentality players he's brought in, like Sweat and Brownlee and all those kind of guys. So I hope that Demario Davis, Minkah Fitzpatrick, those guys are all there to kind of steady the ship from kind of Harrison Phillips in the middle of the front, Demario Davis in the middle of the field, and then Minkah at the back end as well, kind of from a seniority point of view. Not just that leadership element, but that football smarts point of view of just having the entire kind of anchor of the defense sorted up the middle.
It's incredible when you look, you've just mentioned a few names there, but it's incredible when you look at who they've brought in. So they've brought in, this is for the D, so they brought in Minkah Fitzpatrick. They bought in Demario Davis. They bought in Joseph Osai. They've bought in David Onyemata. They've bought in Kingsley Ngabare. And they bought in Nashon, right, and Dane Belton. They're all really good players in just on their own, just their football skills. They're good players, just their football skills. But then when you look, I need to mention this because before I forget it, Flight 26. If you haven't seen Flight 26, you need to see it. But I would also give you a word of caution as well. Once you watch one, you're going to want to watch all of them. I think we're up to episode 3 now or episode 4 now. You will want to watch all of them. And because it is the off season, we've got 6 weeks of pretty much no Jets news. I would eke them out maybe one a week or something like that. Just don't go and blitz it all. But they're on there on Joseph Osai, David Onyemata, and Kingsley Ngabare. They were actually getting interviewed, and it just showed them signing their paperwork and everything. And there was like little interviews and little snippets. And when you hear these guys getting talked to, there's one thing that they've all got. It's like a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And they're big dudes as well. They're really, really big guys. And the point I was going to make is when you compare what we had last year, so we got Joanne Briggs and we got Harrison as well. And they were like a breath of fresh air, weren't they? But now we've got these other guys in as well. You know, we're talking about David Bailey being the edge rusher. Whoa. We've got Joseph Osai and Kingsley Ngabare. They're really, really good players. So we've just got and obviously we've got Will McDonald still. This front seven, I think they're going to be like a top 10 unit. How do you think about that?
I feel like Muji and Glenn watched us get run on last year, and much like every Jets fan, they were disgusted by what they saw.
Yeah.
And we thought, if nothing else, when it comes to this year, that isn't going to happen again. I have question marks about kind of the pass rush when it comes to this defensive line, but what I have no worries about at all is our ability to stop the run. I think guys like Onyemata and Igbare, they are there to kind of create that kind of wall at the front and to kind of stop anything coming outside. We know what Sweat and Phillips are going to be in the middle, what Briggs can be when he gets around to it. We've got Darryl Jackson, who's come in as the rookie this year as well. And then from a linebacker point of view, you've got Davis. He isn't letting anything through whatever gap he's been given on every single play. So I love the fact that they've prioritized just getting that bit right, because we can't win if you can't stop the run. And I think they've seen that and they've addressed it. There's a really solid floor there now. Where the ceiling is will depend a lot on how the rookies develop and what we add again next year. But I think the floor has been very much established now as quite a high one.
Yeah. And I think the game plan is this, isn't it? You've just touched on it there. Stop the run. Just stop the run and get teams to pass on third down. And then you've got Will McDonald, you've got David Bailey, pin your ears back and go after the quarterback. And if you're talking like third and fifth, third and long, those are the two players you want doing that. It's been mooted. I don't believe this. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit before as well, saying that David Bailey can't stop the run. Don't believe that for an absolute minute. Go and watch his tape at Texas Tech. He can stop the run. He's not brilliant at it, but he's not a pushover. I would say he's pretty average at stopping the run, but that's not what you drafted David Bailey for. You drafted David Bailey to get after the quarterback. I think it's gravy that he can stop the run. He's going to be out there, I would think. Would you think he's going to be a 3-down defensive end eventually? Maybe not at the beginning of the season, but eventually I can see him just being out there 3 downs.
I think that's the biggest question mark with him is is that who he's going to be? Because if he's not, it's a problem with where he was taken, I think. And whether we like it or not, that's what will be the discussion is he was the 2nd overall pick and he's not out there every single down. That will be a problem. Whether it's fair because of the draft class or not, it's not really going to matter. And I think probably we'll know by the end of the year, because at the start they'll probably just ease him into stuff unless they're really happy with him after training camp. But I think if it gets to the end of the season and he still isn't out there and it's looking like you know, when he is out there, that it looks like Will McDonald looked last year when they were trying it with him, then we'll be having a different discussion. But I think for now, I wouldn't expect him to be doing it from the jump, regardless of what we thought about him before the season. I think, Gus, just one question that I had, just thinking about like a veteran leadership point of view. I think it's really clear on the defense where that is. But for you, who are the guys who you think are going to be the big leaders on offense? And also, do you think it's as important as it is defensive side when it comes to having that kind of leadership, or do you think it more just kind of naturally comes from the QB and the OC?
I think, yeah, any offense, if your quarterback isn't a general, I don't think your offense is what it should be. Every NFL offense should have a leader at quarterback. I think Geno is that guy. He's shown he can do that at the Seahawks. I think you just got to take what happened at the Raiders with a pinch of salt. That was never an NFL season by an NFL team. That was a tank. Let's be perfectly honest about it. So yeah, Geno is going to be a leader in that locker room. I think he's got the respect. He said all the right things. Obviously, there's a little bit of shenanigans just gone in the media just recently about his own personal life. It looks as though it's all blown over. I hope it's all blown over because it's been such a quiet off season, remarkably. But yeah, I hope that's gone away. But he seems to be conducting himself very well, and he seems to have the command of the offense. From what I've seen in OTAs and minicamp. So yeah, he's going to be one. Interestingly, Armand Membo, he's been relatively vocal, and there's been a couple of clips on social media, on X and on Instagram, showing Membu getting ready for his clips and everything. This guy's fired up. This guy is super fired up. There's a lot of people saying that they reckon he's going to have an all-pro season, and this season. So, and we saw what he was like last year. So it wouldn't surprise me if someone like Membu, maybe even gets a captain's role. I don't know. I would assume that Geno's going to be a captain. I think you have to give a captain's armband to Garrett Wilson this year. You have to. And then it's like, who else is there really? Who else would be a captain on offense? That offensive line is going to be something else. But as I say, the vocal leader that's starting to be the vocal leader on that line now seems to be Armand Membo. So who would you think would be captains or leaders of that offense?
You do hope it comes from the offensive line, and I think it's nice that I do think Membu's a really good shout out there because he is obviously one of the most talented members of what is a very young offensive line outside of like Myers, of course. Parr hasn't really been there for long enough. Joe Tippmann, maybe, but you don't get the feeling that he's a very vocal guy from watching him. Like you say, Garrett will get one because he's Garrett. Brees doesn't really feel like a captain type of player. So yeah, I think Membu's a really good shout out. Potentially him or Tippmann, depending on how Tippmann's developing in that room now that he's got himself his second contract.
Because we also had an offensive lineman the previous year, didn't we? AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker, he was made a captain as well in that year. So I think they are looking to make one of the offensive linemen a captain. And out of all of that lot, I think Membu is the one. So I think they kind of pick themselves, don't they? In that respect.
Yeah, I think the coaching staff will know for definite who their like leaders in the locker room are. Occasionally, like you said, it goes to the quarterback because they are the quarterback. I don't think Zach Wilson was ever a kind of captain player, but he got it because he's the quarterback and you kind of have to give the quarterback the captain's band. But yeah, I think Geno is a different animal to Zach.
So while we're talking offense, I think probably, arguably, the biggest story other than Geno's private life is the progression and chemistry with wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. So as you know, Smith joined the Jets by trade from the Raiders. to bring stability, and pretty much the first quarterback that we've had in a very, very long time. I think probably going back to Fitzpatrick, that actually can throw a ball. Obviously, we had Justin Fields last year. That worked out horribly. But throughout the spring, Gino has really thrived under Frank Reich's instruction, and he's looked physically sharp, and he's really locked into the playbook. Like you said, he is a student, and he will do whatever the offensive coordinator is telling him. So I think that's worked really well. But we have to talk about AD Mitchell, the chemistry that they've had every time that there's been training camp or OTAs. And again, I will say that the running game isn't really something that gets too much of a look because there is no hitting. So it is pretty much focusing on the passing game. But the timing and the burst and the separation that AD Mitchell's getting, he's pretty much solidified himself as wide receiver too, I would imagine, wouldn't you?
Yes and no, all at the same time. I think, like you said, and it's really important to keep saying this to ourselves over and over again. It's OTAs.
Correct. Yeah.
There's no pads. No one's getting hit. We're all old enough to remember 2020, where we were all sitting at home during lockdown, convincing ourselves that yes, Rashad Perryman will break out this season. This is his year. I think we have to wait and see. He looked nice in very limited viewing last year, but he has to put it on the field in a regular season. Training camp and OTA breakouts historically will then go for 7 catches on 15 targets for 32 yards in the regular season. It just seems to be how it happens. It would be amazing if AD Mitchell works out as that number 2, number 3 wide receiver with Cooper by the end of the year, but I have to see it first.
Yeah, I'm not going to anoint him as being the Chancey Stuckey of OTAs and minicamp this year, but we'll see what training camp, as you say, and it's true. It's all so immaterial, and you're absolutely right. Just keep telling yourself, keep your feet on the ground. Again, you know, this is always the problem, and I've harped on about this for so many years, even when it was happening with Zach Wilson. Absolutely brilliant in training camp because you're not getting hit. There is a pass rush, but they fly by you and touch you as they're flying by. So, yeah, he wasn't scared. And then it come game time, he got pitter-patter disease and didn't like getting hit. And we know what happened next. So, yeah, keep it with a pinch of salt with what's going on. But training camp is going to be a little bit different. So we will find out whether or not this Mitchell Smith elite deep ball is what it really is. Getting back to the other side of the ball, we saw a few interceptions. A what? An interception. This is where the opponent throws the ball and our defense actually brings it down in front of a wide receiver, apparently. But anyway, yeah, I'm just being sarcastic. Yeah, so we actually had a few interceptions and quite a few PDs, pass deflections as well. But one of them was the rookie, D'Angelo Pons. Who is going to be the starting corners, do you think? Because we've got Nashon Wright, we've got D'Angelo Pons. Goodness, who else have we got? Brandon Stevens, Qantas Stiggers, AZ Thomas.
Yeah.
And then we've got some others, Samuel Womack. We've got Jarvis Brownlee, but I think he's going to be pretty much in the slot. I would imagine he won't play anywhere else. Who do you see is going to line up on the outside? Because there are some people that reckon. Some people are saying D'Angelo Pons is too small to play outside corner. I say phooey to that. Go and watch his tape at Indiana. He was locking down some of the best wide receivers that went in this draft. I think one of them was it Malachi Lemon? It was one of them. God, who else was there? There was somebody else.
Jeremiah Smith. He held up really well against Ohio State.
Who's the USC guy as well? Oh God, he's now at Tennessee.
Oh, Jacoby Lane.
Was it Jacoby Lane? But
some of them
they were saying they got asked who was the best cornerback you've played this year, and they were all saying the same thing. D'Angelo Pons. So this short corner thing is just like, get out of your head. He might have some teething trouble when the season starts, but I think personally, I think he will be battling, if not solidifying, one of the outside. Probably cornerback 2. I don't think he'll be cornerback 1 yet. Eventually, I think he'll be cornerback 1, but I don't think he'll be cornerback 1 yet. So that leaves Brandon Stevens or Nashon Wright. I think probably Nashon Wright. Do you?
Probably to start the year, and it's all going to depend on how they line up. To be honest, it's going to depend on what they're running at the time, because I think Pons is the type of player where he's going to be able to play inside and outside, and on certain downs, Brownlee is going to be the guy playing on the inside, and at that point you'll see Pons on the outside with whoever of Stevens. I think AZ Thomas, I haven't caught up with his injury recently. He might not be ready, might he, for the start of the year. So it might be Wright and Stevens outside by default if Pons is starting inside. But I think when they bring Brownlee inside, they'll go to the outside. Because like you said, all this stuff about his size is scouting just the measurables, not the player. And also the slot has changed so much over the last couple of years as well, because people who are going to say he can't play outside because he's not tall enough. If he's going to play in the slot these days, he's going to be going up against guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to be going up against tight ends. And so if you think he's too small to play outside, why do you think then that translates to him taking on these massive slot receivers? The days of Braxton Berrios style slot receivers is long gone. And you're lining up against much bigger guys on the inside now. Pons is more than capable of, I think before 5 or 6, of being one of the star guys alongside Stevens, Wright, Thomas, whoever it is, but playing flexibly between the kind of a bigger nickel sort of role and playing on the outside as well, just because of the kind of player he is. I think he's got versatility playing man versus playing zone as well, which is going to work really well with, I think, how flexible Glenn wants to be.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, so we might as well start talking about it. This is going to be a camp battle to watch, isn't it? It's going to be really interesting to see this. I just think he's going to I think he's just got it. He's just got that thing. I think when you talk to a lot of Jets fans that have followed the draft and looked at pre the draft, how these players were shaping up in the combine and what have you, when we draft, I think it's universal amongst Jets fans that when we did draft D'Angelo Pons, I don't think I've met a Jets fan that wasn't happy with it. So let's focus a bit on the outlook, training camp outlook, and these position battles. We'll go back to the offense. I think it's fair to say Wilson and Mitchell are pretty much, again, I go back to what you said. Yeah, it's just non-contact. But I think it's probably fair to say that Wilson and Mitchell are locked in at the top spots. And then you've got rookie Omar Cooper Jr., who has been turning heads as well. He's looked pretty decent. And then interesting, I like this addition. We added the veteran Tim Patrick. I think Tim Patrick's going to come in. When Tim Patrick gets come in, he'll be spelling for whoever, either Wilson or Mitchell. Patrick's going to come in. He's going to do his thing. He'll move the sticks and then shuffle off again. I like it. He's a red zone threat as well. I like Tim Patrick in the red zone. It's going to be interesting, though, the back end of this wide receiver depth chart, because you've got Arian Smith, you've got Isaiah Williams, who incidentally is apparently trying to get his speed even quicker. So he's training with Olympians at the moment. So, wow. Apparently, during OTAs and Minicamp, they were coming up with some specific packages for Isaiah Williams. Here's the thing. I don't know if this is really a hot take or not. I don't think Arian Smith is going to be on roster at the end of preseason. Do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think Isaiah Williams showed himself to be far more versatile than Smith in terms of, obviously, he's got the return ability, but he was also good as kind of that kind of gadgety type receiver as well. So And if he's putting that level of effort in, I think he's basically, I'd say he's the favourite at the moment to take that fifth wide receiver spot. And then Smith is fighting for a spot based on, how many receivers are they going to carry versus all of these UDFAs they brought in, and people like Jamal Pritchett from last year as well. So, yeah, I think that's a really good point to make.
I just don't think, obviously, at the back end of last year, we saw Arian Smith. He was excelling as a gunner on special teams, but I don't think that is going to save him. I think we've got quite a few young players coming into this team that will also do just as good a job. We've got Marcelino McCrary-Ball. He's come back in now. He'll be fit. He's a gunner. And he has this canny ability, I don't think many people like him as a linebacker. Everyone knows I'm a fan of McCrary-Ball, primarily because he's a 41. I like my 41s. But I do like him on special teams. And he has this inane ability to be around the ball, and stuff seems to happen when he is around the ball, talking fumbles and all the rest of it. So I do like him. He was a defensive captain as well before he went out injured as well. So I think this bears relevance on Smith. I cannot see, if you're going to make the team purely on being a gunner, it's not going to happen. So
no, especially like you say, we've already got McCrary-Ball. Quantez Stiggers was one of the best gunners. I think one of the best gunners in the NFL last year. Noir showed that he can do it as well, and he's going to be on the team from a return point of view. So he gives versatility. Whereas, like you say, making the case for yourself on the roster purely because you can be a depth gunner probably isn't the strongest case that you can make.
Yeah. Talking of battles, I've got to mention Kenyon Sadiq. He has been injured. He had a minor hernia procedure. It wasn't the reason why that they only done this is because they thought it was going to heal up naturally. But I think it probably was going to heal up naturally, but it would have meant that he would have been still rehabbing in training camp. So that's why he's had this procedure done. But this is going to be an interesting situation when it comes to the tight ends in training camp, isn't it? Because I think I don't know if I'm fair in saying this, but I thought no one looked good last year, really. But I thought Jeremy Ruckert, there was a couple of games where he actually made a case where he didn't look too bad, and he was making catches in what was a dour offense. So you've got Mason Taylor, Kenyon Sadiq, and Jeremy Ruckert. You've just mentioned something there about slot, although it was on a defense, saying you're getting these freaks now playing in slot. Kenyon Sadiq is going to be that guy, isn't he? So is there a chance we could see all three tight ends on at the same time, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because Sadiq is so versatile, you saw him for Oregon kind of play out of kind of a more traditional fullback role. He played inline tight end, he played slot wide receiver, he played outside wide receiver. So he's going to be like, and I hate this phrase, but he's going to be that kind of chess piece on offense. But it makes it an interesting discussion between, I think, whether or not, because like you said, you've got Taylor, you've got Sadiq, you've got Ruckert. Then kind of hanging on, you've got Woods, you've got Beck, and the UDFA, whose name escapes me, but they're kind of the ones. And people just kind of assume that Woods is the odd man out because he's more of a traditional tight end. But Beck is the fullback's a very sort of role. And if you've got Sadiq playing even a handful of fullback style snaps, is it worth keeping Beck around to play some of a hardly used position as it is? If really speaking, you could just give all of those sorts of snaps to Sadiq. I don't know what your thoughts, because I know you're a big Andrew Beck fan. So
big Andrew Beck, yeah. Well, it has. It's crossed my mind. Again, he's one. It's like I keep banging on about this as well. When we had these jumbo packages, we were rolling out Max Mitchell as the extra offensive lineman, and we also had Andrew Beck. We were using him as well. And when these guys were on the field, something was always happening positive every time we used them. So almost like a lucky charm kind of thing. But yeah, I am a Beck fan. I was a huge fan when we signed him. I thought it was a good pickup with an offensive line that was stuttering at times, and Brees trying to find his mojo. And we had the new guys in at that point, Allen and Davis in the backfield as well. So I just thought it made a lot of sense. But I'm struggling, as you've just pointed out, to find out a role where you can actually justify having him on roster. I think he'll be on the practice squad if he sticks, if he doesn't get claimed. I would imagine that he might get claimed. You mentioned Jelani Woods there as well. Woods also played for Frank Reich, so it wouldn't surprise me if we might see Woods a little bit more than we thought we were going to see him. But are we going to be carrying 4 tight ends? That remains to be seen, because that's what you'd be looking at. I find it hard to believe that we're going to be carrying 4 tight ends. How many do you think we will be carrying? 4 seems a little bit excessive.
I think we probably will. Whether it's 3 and a fullback or just 4 true tight ends, I think if you're going to be lining up in those bigger packages, and there's not an insignificant injury history with some of these guys, I think 4 is what we'll see, just because we'll play more of those bigger package roles. And it doesn't mean that we're going to be the Rams. Very few people are the Rams because of not having Sean McVay. And if you don't have Sean McVay, you're not the Rams, regardless of what your roster construction is. But I do think it'll be 4, whether it's 3 and a fullback or 4 tight ends. But it's interesting. Before we move on from that, you mentioned Braylon Allen. Have you seen the size that he's been putting on?
Yeah. So yeah, he's now 250. Apparently, you tell it how it is.
Yeah, so he's sort of come back into OTAs after kind of missing a lot of last year, and he's massive. He was already a pretty kind of big guy to start with, just in terms of the amount of muscle mass he's got on him. He was listed, he was 235, I think, when he came into last year, but he's thrown like 15 pounds of, let's face it, pure muscle on. So again, that brings me back to the thing about Beck, is that if you've got a 250-pound running back there as well, is that kind of the plan for Allen as well? Kind of, if you're going to be in that kind of pony package of having the 2 running backs on, is that going to be Allen in kind of a fullback role?
Yeah, we didn't see much from Beck actually ball carrying, but I could see we get these jumbo packages. You need 1 to 3 yards to make first down, or even just move the sticks. I can see Allen being used in that. He is so explosive. I don't think some people are saying he's put this additional weight on. He's coming off an injury. He won't carry it and he'll be less explosive. I disagree. The guy is absolutely jacked. If he's lost any explosiveness, he's just going to make up with it with his ability to just move bodies, because he's going to do that. And he's basically a lineman, isn't he? He's like a D lineman. He's heavier than some of the D linemen we've got. I mean, I just wouldn't want that coming out of the backfield, coming into the second level. That is just terrifying. But
if he plays at 250, he's going to be a similar weight to Beck and Ruckert.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I just can't see how Beck is going to make this team when you have got the likes of him. I think he's going to run between the tackles. I want to see, talking of running backs, I am not that fond of seeing Brees running inside the tackles. I know he can do it, but he tends to, and he did curtail it a little bit last year, and I've been critical about him doing it, this dancing behind the offensive line, waiting for those holes to open up. Whereas he's been so successful in the past by taking that 1-step cut and just hitting the hole, whether it's developing or not, and just moving people. And he stopped doing it, and it was just this anticipation thing, and that's just not his game. He's far more effective when he's running outside of the tackles, or, as I say, just taking that 1 jump cut, bang, hitting a hole. So if you've got someone like Braylon Allen that can constantly go between the tackles, and you've got someone like Brees that can run outside the tackles, and then you've got Davis who can do pretty much both of what they all do, plus he's an underrated pass catcher out of the backfield. I think you're pretty stoked at that running back position this year, aren't we?
Yeah. I think it's interesting that the offense to me, just as a whole, particularly the skill position groups, running back, tight end, wide receiver, we're so much kind of better off than we've been in a very long time. It's almost, and it's nice to be spoilt for choice a little bit rather than thinking, oh God, I hope somebody gets cut from another team because we can't do this.
Yeah. Let's get back to the other side of the ball. We talked a little bit about the secondary. We've talked about the corners. What about the safeties? So we know that Minkah Fitzpatrick, I've got a funny feeling Minkah Fitzpatrick is just going to be a bit like a safety rover. He's just going to move all over the field. I haven't got a problem with that. What I do like about that is it's going to keep OCs up at night, wondering where he's going to be lining up. And I think you're going to see Minkah Fitzpatrick come up with the ball quite a few times as well, because he has that ability to do that. So he's going to hold down one of those safety spots, wherever it is, whether it's at free safety, strong safety, or even playing the slot, or even playing that nickel package linebacker role. Although I'm not too sure he will be, but you never know. There are so many different packages that are going to be run by Glenn. It's going to be hard to see where he is going to actually fit, but I know he's going to fit all over. So we've still got a bit of a forgotten man, Andre Cisco. We've got the newcomer, Dane Belton, and obviously Malachi Moore. I think Malachi Moore is probably on the outside looking in. Again, is one of the players I really like. I still think he needs to develop a little bit more. I was a little bit disappointed how things ended last year, but take it with a grain of salt because the defense in general did not play well. So I think it'd be unfair to actually point out one person individually as having a bad season. But how do you see the situation in the safety room playing out? Do you think it's going to be Fitzpatrick and Cisco or Belton?
Yeah, it's one of those positions where I was really baffled that they didn't try to solve this in the draft a bit more enthusiasm than taking Payne with a 7th round pick. Because Fitzpatrick is a given. He'll probably move around a lot. Cisco, and it's the deeper field safety role that is the concern for us at the moment, because Fitzpatrick can't spend all his time there if he's going to be playing that more underneath style, which he seems to keep indicating that he is. Cisco was a bit of a liability in that coverage role last year. More, like you say, I thought he looked really good at times, but he had obviously rookie moments. Belton, I'm not sure free safety is his bag either. And we saw like Dean Clark and Jarius Munro, and if they're on the field, it's bad times. So it does kind of, I think if Moore takes a step and looks good in training camp, I would really love to see him take a step this year, because if he does, and it's Cisco starting at free safety, it just means that position is still a massive question mark, because Cisco on a decent depth chart, I don't think should be anywhere near starting at this point. So how it shakes out in training camp, if Moore's getting more of the starter reps and is looking good, that's my preference. Like you, I wasn't given huge amounts of confidence with how last year ended for him. Yeah, so it's probably outside of kind of edge and linebacker might be one of the biggest question marks on our defense for me.
I think you mentioned you weren't happy with how we didn't really address safety until we picked up VJ Payne. Was he 7th round pick or 6th round? Yeah. 7th round pick. Apparently he should have gone in the 4th round. So why he slipped that far, I don't know. But he got ranked quite highly in the draft. So it's a good pickup, but I don't think he's going to be ready to be a starter this year anyway. So he's going to need to be developed. Another area that I thought that we didn't really address in the draft, which I thought we might have done, and we had the opportunity to as well, and I still think that we look a little bit light. You're probably going to guess what I'm going to say here. Linebacker. I still think linebacker is dreadfully light. So we've got Davis, we've got Kingsley Ngabare, Jaden Keller, Kiko Marigoa, Marcelina McCurry-Ball, Jamie Sherwood, Michael Walker, Chase Wilson, and that's it. That's not good. However, I will add this. I think, obviously, Sherwood was green dot last year. He made a complete hash of it, and I don't think he ever really recovered. Demario Davis is going to be that green dot linebacker. I think this is going to free up Jamie Sherwood to concentrate back on his game again. And I think we are going to see the Jamie Sherwood that won himself that second contract. So I'm not that out. I know that some people are out on Jamie Sherwood. I'm not one of them. I think that is good, but I think that we are still. Kiko looked good in flashes last year, but there's so much more to his game that he needs to improve on. His coverage skills just not there. And when you look at Demario Davis, he will be slowing down as well. There's another guy that his coverage skills aren't going to be there. Sherwood, his coverage skills aren't too bad, but I think we are absolutely desperate. And I hope I'm wrong, because otherwise we're going to get gashed. But I think we're absolutely desperate for a good coverage linebacker.
Yeah. So like you say, Davis, it's great to have him. Everyone's kind of holding their breath about Sherwood taking that kind of load off him of being the guy to kind of direct everyone else. Maybe he starts again, like we saw him when he had CJ there next to him. But we talked about it before, didn't we, with like the offensive coordinator thing. For me, the biggest issue with linebacker is kind of what the future looks like as well. And I know you just kind of have to cope with it, and just that'll all be sorted out at some point but Kiko is very much a kind of obvious rundown kind of linebacker to bring on. Your boy McCall is more of a special teams player.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Sherwood, who he's not going to be getting the next year. Demario Davis, is this the last ride for him? It's the thinnest position group that we have in terms of there isn't really a future of like what our linebacker room looks like. The good news is, if you're into the draft, it's one of the first groups I've started to look at for this very obvious reason. It's not looking great at the moment, and there's a lot of very good linebackers who will probably be coming out next year.
And there's some decent quarterbacks coming out next year, so this could potentially be a really good draft for us in 2027. And now, you know what? This was another position I thought maybe we could have taken a player. We had a plethora of late round picks, and we didn't address this either. And now we've got a situation. We let a Pro Bowl kicker walk out the door, Myers, and now we've got a kicking competition. If we go into training camp with these two guys, Jason Sanders and Cade York, as our two primary kickers, we got a problem. I honestly, I'm flip-flopping between who's actually the better out of the two, but neither are particularly good. If we don't get some other kickers in at training camp, are we stuffed at kicker here?
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, is the short answer. It's I don't really know what's happening with kicker. People seem excited about Jason Sanders. I mean, he was on the Dolphins. If you can't stick around on the Dolphins roster, I'm not really sure what that says about you.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe they were just afraid he was going to make his kicks this year, and they're desperate not to win any games, so they let him go because he's too reliable. It makes such a massive difference in terms of like your ability to win close games. I was looking back at the 2024 season, and the number of games where kind of Zerline had his kind of worst year for us, the number of games that we kind of lost by a field goal.
Yeah, I said Myers, didn't I? Yeah, it was Zerline. Beg your pardon.
No, it was Zerline in 2024. You're right, it was Myers last year. I was going back a year earlier to when Greg the Leg had an awful year for us. The number of games where we lost by a field goal could have flipped us from a 5-12 season into a 9-8 season. It makes such a huge difference.
One position that I think we're solid at is punter, Austin McNamara. So I don't think we have to worry about that. He was just absolutely unbelievable, and arguably he should have got picked up that MVP award, not Isaiah Williams last year, which is saying something about your team when your punter's the MVP.
Your punter's fighting with your punt returner for MVP. It says great things about the roster,
doesn't it? So yeah, kicker. Oh God, I'm going to be so disappointed. We need to find ourselves. I think that about wraps things up, doesn't it? I think we've pretty much covered everything. Looking forward to training camp. Again, I think it's now 5 weeks because we've had the first week off. It's going to be slow. Don't forget, Flight 26. It's on YouTube. It's also, I think you can also see it on the official New York Jets website as well. There's lots and lots of interviews on there as well. Really good to look at. Subscribe to them on YouTube, and there is a really, really great series. Seth Brogan, I think his name is, that does the production on it, done an absolutely amazing job. So if you hadn't seen it, they are absolutely fantastic. And if you watch one of these programs and if you still don't want to put shoulder pads and a helmet on and run through a wall, you're not a Jets fan. But you will. Anyway, Andy, it's been a great catching up. It's been a long time since we've been on together. It has been so slow. What are you looking forward to this next 6 weeks?
I'm just trying to get into some of the 2025 stuff from college while the NFL's quiet. I'm hoping that the Jets stay quiet, because if there's stuff exciting going on at the moment, it's because your cornerback's kidnapping someone, which we don't want any part of. So we'll just keep things nice and quiet and get to training camp. That's what I'm hoping for.
Amen. Sign me up for that. Quiet 5-6 weeks off, and then pads on, helmets on, and the high heat of Florham Park, and the gentle sound of the jugs machine firing off balls, and the lawnmower in the background, smell of grass and everything. Cut grass, I should add. Yeah, I can't wait for training camp. As you say, I reiterate, a good quiet off season is what we want to be hearing here. Nothing. Thanks for hopping on, Andy. Are you up to anything else? You're doing your Substack?
It's been really quiet at the moment. I'll probably start firing off some draft profile stuff, kind of summer scouting bits, but that'll be in a couple of weeks when I'm on summer break.
Brilliant. You can catch us if you want to catch up. Give us a follow on Twitter. We are on the official Atlantic Flight podcast on Twitter. So you can follow me, you can follow Andy, and we'll be back again, hopefully, with some other news in training camp. But hope you're doing all right, everybody. We're having a little bit of a heat wave over in this country, so hope everyone's staying safe. And as always, go Jets.
Y'all know what to say. On 3. 1, 2, 3.